This is the meeting of the Community Development Committee for November 4th. Our chairman and vice chairman are absent this evening, so I would like to ask for a motion to seat one of the members as a chair for the committee.
A motion for Alderman Kirkwood to act as chair tonight.
Is there a second?
Sure.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Alderman Kirkwood, you're the chair. May I call roll?
Let's call the roll.
Alderman Moiseo? Alderman Seeger? Alderman Florian?
Here.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Here.
Alderman Turner?
Here.
Approval of the minutes.
Oh, that's an old one. There you go.
Approval of the minutes of the special community development meeting that took place on October 21st, 2019. Motion by Alderman Turner, second by Alderman Florian. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. We have audience time. Is there any individuals who would like to speak on anything that's on the Community Development Committee roster this evening? No? Thank you. We have a presentation regarding the building capacity of to achieve the lakefront's vision for Waukegan. Would you like to introduce these individuals, please?
Sure. From the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, the Coastal Program Manager Diane Tessick is here, and from Delta Institute, Margaret Renas.
No. Is there a button or switch on there? No.
I can speak loudly.
There you go.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Hi there. Thank you, esteemed members of the Waukegan City Council. I'm really happy to be here in front of you tonight, and I am wanting to talk about building capacity at the Waukegan lakefront to achieve Waukegan's vision for the lakefront. You know, as you know, the lakefront, you know, you want to move forward with revitalization and redevelopment. And to achieve this, there's been a committee, group that's been working together with staff from the city of Waukegan, as well as the Port District and the Park District and Department of Natural Resources, along with Delta. This is the Waukegan Working Waterfront Committee, or group, WWWG. And we've really been working on trying to connect the various different departments and other partners to try to achieve some of the changes to moving towards Waukegan's vision. And what I've noticed is that there have been gaps in what we've been able to do, and so I've been really interested in approaching the city council. I've already approached the mayor about ways that we could move forward so you can accelerate your progress on the lakefront. Can you go forward? So this is what we do at the Illinois Coastal Management Program, because you are probably thinking, who are you, Diane Tessick, and why are you here talking to us? So I am with the Coastal Management, nope, back, with the Coastal Management Program. And in the scheme of things, what we do, we work on coastal communities. It includes work with municipal governments and other leaders. We provide technical assistance, coordination, capacity building, and planning. We also work on coastal habitats and species, as you can see, and then economic development and recreation access. So Waukegan is really important to me. I got involved here very early after I started with the coastal program, and I saw the many potentials of Waukegan. Next slide, please. One of the main things that brought me to Waukegan, I get some funding that supports my activities through Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. And particularly, they wanted our program to be the lead in moving forward to get Waukegan Harbor Area of Concern delisted. How to get it cleaned up, how to give it the stamp of approval and move forward. So, you know, under that umbrella, I have been working with Waukegan since around 2012 or so. But also in my travels here and my work with the staff, there are so many other opportunities for revitalization. You have some of the absolute best coastline in the entire Illinois coast. And so our program was really looking at ways to see how we could be most helpful to Waukegan so that you can achieve your vision for a really active waterfront. So next slide. I just want to talk a little bit about the assets you have. Part of the reason that brought me here, these waterfront assets, things like the harbor, the beach, and the natural habitats that you have here are a really high priority. It's kind of like all of our kind of target areas in the coastal management program are embodied here in Waukegan. And because of the area's industrial history and that contaminated area of concern, you haven't been able to move forward as fast with things. I think that that's really kind of dragged progress. But now that we are actually going forward and moving towards being clean, I think there's so much opportunity to make your lakefront the best in Lake County and maybe on the all of the Illinois lakefront. And so you are all familiar with this and these assets that are on the ground, but I also want to mention another asset that you have, and that's partnerships and available partnerships. The city of Waukegan works with the Port District, with the Park District. We've got Delta Institute here who's been working with the city. The Center for Conservation Leadership has been important in engaging in your lakefront. Lake County Forest Preserve District is potentially a great partner for you. Obviously, IDNR, we've been partnering with you for quite a while. And then the Lake County Audubon, I think, established a recent partnership on your beaches with birding. So next slide, please. So your lakefront vision, you had a wonderful master plan that was done back in 2003. When I started working with the city, we found that you've got this great plan, but it didn't sort of have some of the step-by-step needs on how to really activate it. What are the smaller steps that you can take now to actually move forward on that vision? And so this was from the Lakefront Active Implementation Plan, which I believe the City Council added as an addendum to the master plan. And the whole idea is to transform Waukegan Harbor into and the lakefront area into a thriving, mixed-use, year-round waterfront. And we got a lot of input from the city citizens of Waukegan on what they wanted to see, and all of that was incorporated into that plan. And so by building on your assets here, I really think that you can turn this lakefront into an economic driver, which you all want to do. Next slide, please. So this is from the master plan, and what I've seen, and again, why I'm here, I've been working closely with the city, and I've been part of the working group that has been going on, and I've seen some real challenges to moving forward with things, and I'll talk about that a little later. But I really feel like the city needs to make some modest investments to take the next steps forward so that you're ready for potential redevelopment out in that area and ready to attract investors to the area, because you've got a lot of land out there, and we have to make it an atmosphere that is conducive to them coming to the area. Next slide, please. So again, I just want to talk about, I've really been involved in Waukegan, and our coastal program has identified this as a really high priority. And so this is just showing some of the projects that have benefited directly to Waukegan from our coastal management program. And so over the years since we started back in 2012 and all the way up through 2020, it's, you know, almost $700,000 that we've helped fund various projects and efforts in the area. See. Some of this includes actually funding the lakefront active implementation plan, the sustainable shoreline plan that you've got, a beach management plan. All of this has directly affected and improved some of the beach habitats that you have out there. And one of the big things that I identified with the Waukegan Waterfront Working Group, which had been around for a while, but I noticed it really needed a little bit more organization. It needed some facilitation to help move it forward so that it was a kind of more official in some ways and accountable. And so we funded Delta Institute, actually funded Waukegan, and they hired Delta Institute to act as facilitators for this group. And I've also been participating in this group over the last, 6 or 7 years. And why do I do that? Next slide, please. So this is who is involved in the Waterfront Working Group. You can see it's various departments for the City of Waukegan, as well as me, Department of Natural Resources, Waukegan Port District, and Waukegan Park District, in addition to Delta Institute. It started informally in 2010, and like I said, especially since 2015, we've really kind of pumped up the volume on this. And what we've seen with a better structure for the Waukegan, for this working group, I'm just going to call it working group because it's too much otherwise, is that these departments have been able to coordinate their efforts. They've been able to work more closely with the port. They've been able to do cooperative things among themselves to leverage each other's expertise and funding. And so this is really important for moving things forward. But as you can imagine, all of the people that are listed on here have other day jobs. They've got a whole suite of responsibilities that they're already working on, as you can imagine: police, engineering, communications staff, planning. And this was where I noticed that there was a problem, because everybody is sort of working, kind of like the mayor says, staying in their lane, working in their lane, and they're coordinating, yes, but there was nobody who could really sort of take charge and take leadership on lakefront issues. And so the folks here have really struggled with these additional kind of work items that came out. Even when we had really good things like grants available, it was tough for the staff who had all these other things to do to actually get these grants accomplished and do the implementation that was necessary. And I can say, being in the state and having federal money, grants are no easy task. They take a lot of reporting, a lot of paperwork, a lot of other sort of administrative assistance that needs to move it through the process. Next slide, please. So what's the goal of this group, the Waterfront Working Group? It's basically revitalization of your shoreline and implementing projects that achieve the goals of all of those plans that you've approved over the years, the Lakefront Master Plan, Active Implementation Plan, Beach Management Plan, Harbor Master Plan, and the Sustainable Shoreline Plan. Basically, this working group has been sort of a problem solver and an implementer, trying to align city plans with the vision and then coordinating among their staff to accomplish those various plan goals. Next slide, please. So what the approach has been, and this sort of started in 2016 when Delta came on. We awarded that grant to Waukegan and they hired Delta to come on. And Delta basically facilitates this group, keeps it on a regular schedule. It basically sets up agendas, which, by the way, you've got agendas, I think, in the package that got sent out, and also meeting minutes from when our group meets. If you don't keep track of what you've talked about and don't plan out where you're going, you're not going to get there. So those components, simple as they are really important. In addition to that, they've led to try to keep members kind of accountable, checking in with people on how they're doing. They were trying to identify opportunities to build long-term capacity in the city of Waukegan, so this could continue forward, knowing that Delta was only going to be on for a limited amount of time. They have searched and applied for grants, identified different partnership opportunities, and organized and managed a database of different projects and an actual map of all of the current and prospective projects. So that's how we've been working over the last several years. So moving on. This has been pretty successful. We've had some really good accomplishments and some good partnering among the different entities here. Here I'm mentioning the ADA accessible canoe and kayak launch. That was on Port District property, but it was the Citizens Advisory Group for Waukegan Harbor that actually provided the kayak launch. And then the port was installing this, but the city also helped in getting the concrete and kind of connecting it to the parking lot. All of those were really critical components. And because of the Waterfront Working Group, we were able to make those connections there and get that project done. In addition, the Lake Michigan Water Trail, David, if he's here, David said, hey, we could put a stop on our municipal beach. So let's go ahead and do that. And that would be another stop for people on this Lake Michigan Water Trail, for people who want to get out on their kayaks and canoes. So that's those are a couple of accomplishments. Next slide, please. So the beach staffing has been a real challenge over the years, getting out there in the summertime. One of the real successes we saw was coming together of the Park District and the Port District and the City of Waukegan to come up with somewhat of a new structure to get assistance for getting staffing out there to help on projects at the Lakefront, Park District, and Port District. And all of that, again, was facilitated by the communication in this group. And then next slide, please. We also, through our discussions in this group, identified some real needs. The city of Waukegan did not have a way to clean up the beach, do regular beach maintenance. And so, that came out in the course of our meetings. I was able to identify that I could fund a machine like that for the city of Waukegan. And so we put a grant in place, and as a result, you have a groomed beach now that's cleaned on a very regular basis, in addition to developing a beach management plan so that there's a good schedule and people know who needs to be doing what when to take care of your beaches. And the next one, this is some of the vendors that are out at the beach now in the summertime. Again, this came out of some early discussions in it was in the Lakefront Active Implementation Plan, then was discussed in the Waukegan Working Group, and then discussed and planned in that group, and then the city was able to move forward with this and pull it all together. So again, there's been some really great successes there. Next slide, please. And the group's got a couple other things that are coming up. There's dune fencing and trail signs that are going to be put out, hopefully this year, next year, something like that. Seahorse Drive is going to have some improvements on that as well, which comes partially from the Sustainable Shoreline Plan, and interpretive signage, which Park District is taking a lead on. So all of these things are coming up, again, part of the collaboration among this group of city, port, park staff. But I want to mention that funding for Delta to continue this facilitation, I just can't continue to fund this. It's just unsustainable for me to fund this sort of short-term outside entity to come in and help Waukegan. And so their contract is actually ending December 31st, 2019. So it's wrapping up. And what we've discussed with that whole group and among Delta and myself is that there really needs to be designated leadership for this group, and it needs to come from the city to effectively continue building on that vision so that you have effective implementation of your projects. The current staff that you have, they are all hardworking staff and doing a darn good job, staying in their lanes when they can, but some of this lakefront work goes outside of their lanes, and all of their responsibilities don't give them the necessary time to really move forward with the projects that need to be done and take the time and have the expertise to know who needs to be pulled in and how do we move these things forward. And so you really need, again, in my humble opinion, you really need to invest in getting somebody on board who is really going to be your champion for the lakefront, who's going to be your lakefront manager. And I'll mention a couple of reasons why. So next slide, please. Even with the help and the coordination we've had, there have been pretty severe capacity challenges. Because they are only working part-time, Delta is only working part-time, and they're an external organization, there's only so much they can do to assist the city. And by the way, what I mentioned before about staff being stretched a little too thin and, having other responsibilities, this is something I see all the time. I work for the state. I know about staff being stretched thin and being asked to do additional things. And so it's a real challenge to do that. And I see this on these lakefront focused projects. in this particular case, so this is showing your beach and showing some of the water that pools up on this. You desperately need more sand on that beach to prevent those unhealthy conditions. There was a separate group of different municipalities in the northern lakeshore. It's called the Sand Management Working Group, coincidentally. And unfortunately, because there was no staff available to participate with this group regularly, you missed out on an opportunity to actually become a part of a pilot project that would have gotten you at least some free sand for this beach, coming from some of the dredging areas. So that was a real loss on a really important asset. Next slide. Another real key challenge, Delta has been really good, and I've been trying to offer various grant opportunities to the city. Excuse me for a second. I've been dry. All right. So there have been lots and lots of grant opportunities available from state and federal funding and other local entities. In particular, I know that some of that funding could have been used to fund bathrooms out there. And again, there was just no capacity to go for that grant because it's complicated. It's through another part of the Department of Natural Resources, and it would have taken significant effort to apply for that grant. But again, this could have gotten you closer to that vision. And then this is actually an example of a handicap accessible mat that goes out onto the beach. This actually would have been an easier project to do, and I offered funding from the coastal program to do it. But again, no one to go through that paperwork and really focus on getting the project accomplished. And again, the mayor goes back and we've talked about this. He talks about staying in your lane, and the staff that are participating in that meeting are staying in their lane. And so what we're finding is there's nobody in the lakefront lane. And if you want to move forward with lakefront projects and activities and revitalization, it's going to take somebody to be in that lane to move forward. Next slide, please. And then this is just one last challenge that you had. This is not on your beach. This is like a plank path that would help emergency vehicles and help access to the beach. There was a grant that was proposed by one of your previous contractors. We awarded the grant to Waukegan, and there was kind of changes in staffing, and that contractor wasn't working for the city anymore. And so when the city had it, there was no one to move that grant forward. They ended up having to give that grant back to us because they couldn't accomplish the project. There was another grant, again, at the same time, and it was for really nice entry signs to the kind of lakefront trails. Again, great opportunity to beautify the lakefront, make it more inviting to people, but that had to be given back. So again, from all my experience seeing these kind of missed opportunities, I urge you to recognize the need for designated leadership and stability for this group and for the partnerships that you could gain, so that you can really effectively implement projects out there. Next slide, please. So where we are today, we want to continue, and I know you all want to continue moving forward with the lakefront. This can be a tremendous asset to your city, and I know that the city recognizes that. You want to attract more users, you want to attract more activity. Some of that has been done, absolutely, and it's not that nothing has been done, but I think you really want to see some progress move forward. And again, this is going to need some modest investment by the city. And that is then going to help you to attract, next slide, the redevelopment that you're really looking for. The Port District was able to get a business out there. You've got a tremendous amount of land that is going to be available for redevelopment in whatever ways. But my understanding is that the developers, the people who are going to bring private investment funds to the city, need to know that the doors are open, the conditions are right for them to start investing their funds in that Waukegan lakefront. And so I think the city really needs to ramp up the revitalization efforts to set the stage for that redevelopment so that it really can become at least one of the economic engines in the city of Waukegan. So next slide. Again, this is a beautiful vision of what your lakefront could be. And we want to be a partner. Department of Natural Resources wants to be a partner with you in getting there. And as you've seen, I've already invested quite a bit of our funds towards this. Our program is still standing here ready and willing to help the city to invest in this vision and move forward with this. So next slide, please. So from all my observations and just what I've seen and the opportunities lost over the last 7 to 8 years, I really think that you need a Waukegan staff person who is solidly in that lakefront lane, someone who can lead those projects, coordinate staff efforts, cultivate the partnerships that are available to you, secure grants, and then effectively implement these projects. I've discussed this with the mayor a couple of times, and he does agree with this. But as with all things, funding is always an issue. Next slide. So why I'm here, again, just in case you need more backup on why this is needed, what this position could potentially do is facilitate these meetings, taking Delta's place, because someone needs to do it. Otherwise, it's those efforts, those coordinated efforts are going to frazzle. And increase collaboration, manage all aspects of these discrete lakefront projects, coordinate engineering and ecological projects that might be out there, and leverage the partner resources to bring in funding for improvements and other redevelopment efforts out there. And what we've been thinking is you need somebody who can be a solid leader, a communicator, a project manager, somebody with sufficient experience. So next slide, please. I don't want to leave you hanging. Again, I've already invested a lot in Waukegan, and I want to see you move forward with this. And I know getting a new position on board is not an easy thing for the city to do. And so what I'm willing to invest is to get you started on this position. And ideally, we would love to see this. I'm offering financial assistance to help you get the position available, and I can pay for basically the salary for this person for the first year. The city would need to pay their fringe and benefits and all of that sort of thing, and then have this gradually go down so that the position could fall completely and squarely into the responsibility of Waukegan. But it's sort of a ramping up, allowing Waukegan the time to start building that into the budget and the time to start reaping the benefits of having somebody on board who can actually get these projects accomplished. So this is what I'm offering to the city at this time. And again, I've talked with the mayor about it. I've talked with some other folks about it. I would really like to do this because I want to see our continued progress, as a partnership going forward. But I will need some kind of commitment from the city to move forward. I know that, we're not going to get to that here today, but in order for me to plan out our funding, especially if we wanted this position to start in the, I guess it would be fiscal year 2020, the city's going to need to work with our program, as soon as possible to try to get the wheels in motion for this. If this is not something that you want to do, well, that's easy. And then you don't have to do anything with it. But I'm asking at this point, sort of on behalf of the Waukegan Waterfront Working Group, asking the committee to consider this proposal and to provide me or city staff, however you take the next steps, provide some direction on if we want to proceed and how you might want to proceed on this opportunity to partner. And so with that, it basically concludes my presentation.
Great presentation, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I hope that I did not take way too long. I have a tendency to do that.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Alderman, do you have any questions on the,
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Alderman, any questions regarding the presentation?
All right. And you've got all the materials, I believe, that we've provided and the presentation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Old business, there is no old business. New business, a motion to approve the zoning calendar number 2592, variance and 100-foot height allowance in the 83 General Commercial District to allow B3 General Commercial District to allow a 180-foot communication tower. Is anyone here from that? Okay.
Good evening, members of the City Council. I'm Susan Faber, here tonight with Lyle Tenpass, engineer, on behalf of WEC Energy Group and North Shore Gas, specifically regarding their variance application for the proposal of a 180-foot tower at the North Shore Gas property at 3001 Grand Avenue. On October 10th, the Planning Commission approved our variance application. At that meeting, North Shore Gas is respectfully requesting zoning relief for the construction and maintenance of a proposed tower at the North Shore Gas property. Communications facility will be wholly contained within a 40 by 40 lease parcel containing an equipment shelter with approximate dimensions of 10 by 20, together with a self-support 180-foot antenna structure. We've carefully placed the tower at the rear south end of a very deep property. By design, we've proposed a self-support tower that blends into the surrounding landscape. We've submitted photo sims with our zoning application. I'm assuming that you have had a chance to review the photo sims and photographs. Just an introduction to the project. North Shore Gas delivers natural gas to more than 162,000 customers in Chicago's north suburbs. They're strategically expanding their high-speed communications infrastructure to improve network reliability and reduce external telecommunications cost. The tower will enable gas crews to quickly respond to any gas emergencies and equipment failures, provide more reliable monitoring, and provide remote monitoring of field devices, fields, crews in the field, and control of gas distribution. We respectfully request that you support and approve our communications proposal. We are here this evening to answer any further questions that you may have.
Alderman, have any questions?
I spoke to them at the zoning meeting, so
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is a
Roll call?
Alderman Turner,
Aye.
Alderman Florian,
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye. Motion passes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Keep providing gas to us.
Motion to direct Corporation Council to prepare an ordinance approving or denying the creation of a Class F1 liquor license for Waukegan Bay Incorporated to be put to the full City Council at a later date. Is there anyone here representing that group? Could you step forward, please?
Talking about the location 2930 Belvedere Road, it's the BP gas stations across the street of the Speedway on the Belvedere Road. So I bought these stations 1 year ago with the $1 million, and now the station is under remodelations. We are spending $1 million on this location. So on this location, we make everything new. We bring new pumps, new stores. We remove the garage sales. We put it new shelves, new walk-in cooler with the 13 doors, new floors. Everything is new on the stations. We make nice front store. We're now working on this location. We plan to open it in the beginning of January on that corner. We plan to make it the nice corner on the city. Yeah. So we apply for the license beer and wine with the package of the gas for these locations because we need to make a package selling on this location to the customer, get more profit from this package when they come to fill the gas and they can find beer and they can find, we have lottery inside, we have dairy, we have frozens, we have many things so they can find everything in one. They can spend a lot of money, they can spend a lot of times to go to different location to find something they need. So we plan to put everything on this location. So when you make this renovation on this site, we're hiring more pupils. So more pupils in city of Waukegan, they get jobs on this location. The location is on the border of the Waukegan. So on this package, we catch the pupils that they will need to leave the city to go to the 94 or to 94. We are on the end of the city, so we catch these pupils to spend this money inside this city and don't go outside. This is our plan. And the other plan, we have a very, because we are in the border, we have very competitions from the different city, Park City, North Chicago, so still we need to keep these monies in this city. Don't go outside. Buy this package. So more pupils get more profit. So regarding we plan to increase our sales from the 10% to 20% during the next 4 years on this location. We plan to pay the tax for the federal tax like $100,000 sales tax like $70,000, city of Waukegan like $20,000 to $30,000. So all this is support the fund for the federal, support the fund for the city, support the fund for the state. So all this help all the community or everybody's in this area. We have experience on the work on the city of Waukegan. I own the BP gas station in the Jackson and Grant since 2016, and we are succeed on these locations. We keep clean. Every customer is happy with these locations. We have a very nice review. We keep all the customers come back again. So we have good experience with the customers in the city, and all the city, they know us. So we need to move up, and my companies get more fund. Maybe we have opportunity, and we make more investment in the city of Waukegan. So this is some short thing about that. If you have any question. And sorry, my English is not very good.
Well, I have a question. I know that you're under construction right now on that particular corner, but previous to your construction, there was no alcohol being served in that particular.
In that location, no.
Right. So tell me your rationale that the need to have beer and wine package for that particular area now once you reopen it after the reconstruction.
Yeah, because before the store was very store, there was a garage shop on that way. There was no walk-in coolers, so the store was very small. Now we extended the store to 2,005 square feet. We put a new walk-in cooler, so we have more space. We have more traffic. More people is coming on this location.
Okay, so there will not be a garage where you repair
Yes,
like you
no
used
more.
to? No more?
We extended all one big store.
Okay. Alderman Florian?
Is there any intention to ever have slot machines at this place? And does it qualify for them?
You can have one with an F1, only with a pour license.
Okay.
Even if they give me,
Well, Speedway has it, and they don't have a pour license.
They're considered a truck stop. They
Right,
have
so can this
different
be-
Well, he doesn't have 3 acres around him.
Okay, just,
Well, that's one of the parameters for the truck stop is the 3 acres.
Yes.
okay, thank you.
yeah, thank you very much.
Alderman Turner, you have any questions?
No, just comment, Mr. Artis runs a really good gas station, good business there at Jackson and Grand. I'm very supportive of his business endeavor to refurbish or actually rebuild his site at Belvedere and Green Bay. I'm totally in support of it, and I'll make the motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Motion by roll call.
Alderman Turner?
Aye.
Alderman Florian?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Is it to approve or to have a corporation council draft?
Alderman Turner, this is to approve it?
Yes.
Okay. You go along with that, Alderman Florian?
Yes.
Yes. Need a motion to adjourn?
I motion we adjourn.
Well, I want to second that.
Thank you.
Okay. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Mr. Artis.